We're playing like a little war game, you know, and we had just about 3 or 4 young kids on each side. And I said, you know what, let's try to trick these guys. I want you guys to make a little bit of noise so they know where you are. And I climbed up this higher spot. Back in those days, we threw whatever we had at each other. I had a can in my hand, and my cousin had a can in his hand, and they came up, and they said, "You're surrounded. We got you," you know. And I said, "Not so fast," just like the movies, you know. And I threw my can, and I just lucked out, hit my cousin in the wrist, and knocked the can out. It was all luck, believe me. My father was a great guy, and I got to know my father really well because I was brought up in the Depression, and he worked in a factory, and during the Depression, he worked 1 day a week maybe. And my mother, fortunately, she worked almost 4 or 5 days a week, and so my father was always home with us.
Can you tell us about family Sundays?
They would drive to church, and then when my mother came back, she would start the gravy, and uh, you could start smelling it, and it would simmer, you know, for a long time. We would grab a little hunk of bread. She'd put a little gravy on it for us. Any kind of holiday. My cousins, my uncles were always close. You hear a knock on the door about 9 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Happy Thanksgiving or Merry Christmas. They'd always stay and start playing cards. A couple of them smoked those Italian cigars. They always made fun out of it, made it a good visit. And their sons were in the service. One of the sons would come home. Everybody would get together at that person's house. And they had this one guy that played the accordion, and they all liked to sing. It was fun, actually. As a young kid, it was nice to see that, you know. My cousin J.R., he couldn't read a note, but he could get the accordion, and he just give me a tune and I'll play it for you. My father told us that his family was called the Whistlers in Italy because all his relatives over there used to whistle all the time. So they ended up nicknaming the Santulli family there the Whistlers. So I loved to whistle. My brother Marty whistled all the time, and Andy, of course. My sister Virginia, we called her Vidge, and she was actually my mentor, really. She used to read to me.
Was there a story when you tried to defend Aunt Fidgy?
Well, this was the time I was in first grade. She was in fourth. So I was walking home with my sister Vidgy, and this big guy, he was making fun of the girls. And my sister said something to him, and he started getting pushing. I just ran into the guy and started swinging at him. He was pummeling me, but I kept going at him, and he got discouraged. Yeah, Andy was an amazing brother. He would go out, and then when he'd come home, he'd whistle, and we always knew when he was coming home, you know. And then, of course, when he got drafted into the Army, boy, we didn't hear the whistle anymore. It was pretty sad for a while. My brother Marty and I were pretty close in age. We were good friends. Marty was a scrapper. But the thing I remember most, we loved our mother, and every Mother's Day, we'd try to do something. We went down on railroad tracks with our wagon and loaded it with ties and stuff that we found on the tracks, and took it to the junkyard. We bought a box of candy for my mother. I think we got about $1 for the scrap that we spent all day for. We were so happy that she was so happy.
What was the position that you played the most?
Third base. Yeah, that was my position. The Yankees came to Waterbury, and I watched this guy play and liked that position. When I graduated, I had a tryout with the Washington Senators. And I suited up with them, had batting practice with the team. He said, "You really look good out there." Some guy came up to me and said, "Are you looking for a bonus?" And I said, "No." I said, I just want to play, professional baseball." He said, "We could offer you a Class B contract." When I checked in, the manager, he gave me a take sign. It means don't swing at the next pitch. And for some reason, I swung at the ball. Yeah, and he benched me. He didn't take me with him. There must have been a reason, and the reason was, you know, I loved that girl, and I loved her more than I did baseball.
Can you tell me what her name was, and can you tell me how you met her?
Patricia.
Patricia.
Yeah. I met her at Washington College. I sort of had an eye for her. I asked her for a date, and she accepted it. All my conversations with her, we were on the same page. I guess she liked some of my traits, and I liked a lot of hers. Pat was, she knew how to handle kids. She never got real angry. And for some reason, these kids listened to her. She'd always read to them. She was a great mother. So it was easy when she was alive because everything worked out fine. And I used to just play with the kids, play ball with the kids, whatever. We had a lot of fun. She had some seizures over the years. This one morning, Mike came up and said that Mom is dropping stuff. So I said, "Okay, Mike, I'll take care of the situation." I said, "Pat, why don't you go up and lie down a little bit?" So she walked up the steps. And then she said, "It was nice knowing you." And we walked up and down, and she wasn't on the floor. And she died right there.
So there you are, four sons, and Dave being the little guy. I just can't even imagine. I just said that I've got to do the best I can and keep my cool, get in shape, so you can handle these things. My family was my top priority. I was pretty lucky to meet Bonnie. I met her about 10 years after Dave's mother died. We just start talking, and a couple of years later, we start dating. She's been a great support, and my mother liked her. She used to come over and talk to my mother. She's tough, but she has a good heart. We've been together for 40 years, for God's sake. And all the boys like her, and she's an excellent friend. I'm happy to have met her. Lucky to have a great family like I did.
My name is John Santulli.